All right, and we're live. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new show by eCommit called Between Two Mats, where myself, Matthew Piglet Turner, and my good buddy Matt Childress from South Carolina, we will be doing player interviews and state of the game talks, and just talking about UFS, most likely monthly. And just a quick update of our perspective. I know a lot of people enjoy hearing from us Southerners about the game, and we don't do as much content as some of the other play groups, so we're going to provide a little bit of that for you. And our guest tonight is our good friend and actually, my teammate for, the past 5 years for life. But the two gentlemen here, Keenan Meadows is our guest tonight, and both of these gentlemen together, we were a United States Nationals team, and we were third place, unfortunately.
Third place. I mean, we got bobbed by the champs, so you can't really ask for better than that. We might as well have been second. They just should have changed the pairings up a little bit to make it more epic in the finals.
It's true. Keenan and I have only ever lost to the champions anytime we've made Top Cut. So if you face us, you want to beat us. It's good news.
It's good news. That just means good things.
Matt Childress was on one of those teams that beat us.
And then he joined one of those teams so that we could gracefully lose to them.
Yes.
Because I can't win a championship to save my life. But, Carry Me Matthews was the dream, and now maybe it'll be between two Matts for the team up. Who knows? But thanks for having me on the show, guys. I really appreciate getting to be sort of part of the flagship episode. So I appreciate that.
Of course. All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for the follow. All right, boys. Well, we talked a little bit about our Nationals teams. So since Keenan is our guest, I'll let him go first. Everyone that I've been doing any show with lately, I've wanted to hear about their Nats experience if they were there. So Keenan, if you want to tell us a little bit about your Nats experience, and then Childress, we'll let you tell us a little bit about yours, and we'll enjoy the content.
Awesome. Well, I really had a blast at Nats. I was playing probably one of the 2 or so control decks there. I would say that me and Jeremy kind of had the control locked down, him playing himself and me getting to play Dimitri, which is always a fun experience, making my opponents completely miserable as they find out that none of their foundations do anything and I happen to have 50 life. But regardless, so essentially, the whole tournament for me was basically just like doing what I love to do, which is negating things and blocking them a lot. And so I got to give shout outs to my least favorite card in UFS, Templar, for really helping me get to where I got. I ended up getting third place in not only teams but also singles, making me the highest consistently placed player there, even though I can't win anything. But regardless, that was kind of nice for me, knowing that at least I've got the consistency option to almost make it. And maybe if I get maybe I play a more degenerate character or Tengu Dive, maybe I'll be able to take it the whole way. So it was a lot of fun. I gotta say, I really liked the meta, despite the fact that Napalm Man existed and I couldn't play 7-hand size characters. If I can't play 7-hand size characters, at least I'm playing something degenerate that's fun. And Dimitri is actually that for me, believe it or not. So I did enjoy, and people seem to have fun even when they lost, because like the meta having been sped up is, I don't think, a bad thing. I think that it's actually kind of fun to have to like deal with, oh, good blocking is going to get me through this, and bad blocking or horrible checking is going to lose me the game, which it should do anyways. So at that point, I think it was just good UFS won the day. Phil Birch played the most broken thing he possibly could. And the best part about the whole tournament, because I hate checks that are lower than 3 to death, but every single deck that won had a 1 check in it. We had 2 Tengu Dive decks, we had the Kim deck, and then we had Finally, who was the last one? It was
Marco was playing
Marco playing
Turbocharged.
Turbocharged Turbo Man, so definitely a different take on a Turbo Man deck that really we really got to see. Interesting. Like there were 9 Turbo Men in Swiss, and everybody was playing what it looked like be a different strategy. So that was really cool. Like you had the all builds, you had the life build. Brett Hillman was playing Void. So like between all of it, it felt like the meta was very flexible, despite the fact that like you're pigeonholed into playing like 12 or so characters, but all those characters have something to say, which is really neat. So, and now that Summer Heat is gone, I think that's only going to open it up a lot more. So, I honestly had a very healthy NAS experience. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see the game moving forward from here.
Childress, how about yourself and your Nats experience?
Welcome to format. Really? Oh God.
What?
Can they hear me? Can they hear Piglet, or is it just you?
I think they can hear me because somebody said, "What up, Piggy?" Who's Fisher Dan? Fisher Dan, who are you? Remind me who you are, Fisher Dan. Oh, and Bro is Kevin Broberg, who
Fuck yeah.
followed us. So shout out to Kevin Broberg.
Aw, shoutouts to Bro.
Fisher Dan. What do you mean sadness? Just tell me who you are.
Oh, the troll, the hard troll. All right, we can
That's
do
fine.
that. How was your Nats experience, Piglet? What, like, I don't know if anybody's gotten a chance to ask you that question.
Oh, I think I talked about it when I talked with Wag. I enjoyed Nats. I enjoyed playing Napalm Man. I enjoy playing the best 5-hander in the. I enjoy playing the best character, the best 5-hand size character in the
Yeah,
format.
and he was better than most 6-hand size characters too.
Yeah, and before that was Clark, and now this was him. I understand why he was banned. I'm not mad that he was. I'm not mad that he was banned.
Yeah.
I'm a little sad,
Yeah.
but you know, it would have been nice for him to at least win something
Before he got banned. Yeah, because
before
he
he
didn't win
got banned.
anything that weekend, even though I mean your records you were undefeated in teams, is that correct?
Yeah, I was 6-0. No, or yeah, no 7-0 if you count me beating Church.
There you go.
So,
And we
yeah.
do. We're talking about personal records here. And then in singles, you lost to Giggles, but we already knew that Ryu was a counter matchup. So I mean,
Yeah, I lost to Giggles.
and you beat Birch as well, right?
I beat Birch,
Yeah,
but Birch and I played in the last round of Swiss and played a very casual match
right.
where we did not sideboard.
Okay.
So, but I would have sideboarded my orders from Hydern against his Tengu Dive, and I don't know what he would have sideboarded against me, but still, we played very casually. I was rooting for Birch like to kill me. I wanted to see what his deck did, and I wanted him to get his bad checks out of the way.
Right, that's fair, and he definitely did
also,
that. Kind of win the day.
Also, I want to give a shout out to Daniel Schussler because that guy's cool, and apparently he is Fisher Dan.
Daniel Schussler. I will say, I will shout out the Snake Man deck that he played because that was one of easily my most fun matches all weekend. I was one of those people who counted Snake Man out as like a viable character. I was like, whatever, you just play low blocks, and then you actually get to playing it. I'm like, wait a second, my deck only has like 8 low blocks in it, so if I don't like block perfectly here, I lose. And I ended up taking the match because of I have 2 revokes versus your 1 out of the year league play, but like even then, it was a close match and it was a lot of fun. I honestly got to say, like, the best part about playing UFS at Nats is getting to play good UFS. Like, nothing felt better. Even losing to Birch, it didn't feel bad because I knew that I'd played my ass off that weekend. I played amazing UFS with some great people, and it just felt like it was a satisfying weekend for me in general. So, I mean, it's shout outs to Dan. That Snake Man deck made me see the light, and now I've got a build on Octagon of it. So if you ever want to throw whatever you want against my Snake Man build, then we're gonna fight, and it's gonna be awesome. So hearts to Dan.
Yeah, I want to give a I can hear you, Childress. It um I want to give a shout out to the entire Vegas play group. I
Oh,
think that
okay, one up, asshole. Sure.
no, I'm just saying, like those guys got really good really fast,
Oh yeah.
and like the foundation of their play group are UFS veterans that everyone likes. But I like even the new guys I like so much.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm not going to name all of them by name right now because we have so much to do. And my favorite part about them, you guys know I'm a big shit talker. Vegas can talk shit with some of the best of them, which is why I like them so much. I went on a tirade on Tim and Ryan at the cabin. Oh man, it was great. It was great. They needed a little more comeback. They need a little more comeback for my tirade, but
Yeah,
they'll get there. They'll
your
get there.
your tirade's a little intense for anybody, Piglet. Like I still
This
have a
is
hard
true.
time keeping up sometimes, and I've known you for what is this, like 12 or so years by now?
Yeah,
So
probably at least 12 years or so. So, um,
regardless,
okay.
shout outs to Vegas. So.
Yeah.
Can the stream hear Matt Childress?
Can the
That's the big question.
Yeah, yeah. If you'll just tell us if you can hear Childress, if not, we might leave him in the dust, guys.
Between one Matt?
It'll be between one Matt and one mute.
One
Um,
one yet, if you will. Did we get any response from stream? I don't have the stream window open.
be good.
So
It's Skype hijacking my headset, according to Matt Childress. But we're gonna keep moving on with the show. Childress is working through the technical difficulties, and we'll hear about his Nats experience in the end of the show. Um, Childress, if you want to pull up the top 8 decks from the Nebraska and Illinois PTCs.
I want to pull this up too.
Rockford, Illinois, and it wasn't Omaha. I think it's a suburb of Omaha. Where it was pretty much another Omaha PTC, but I don't remember the actual name of the town in Nebraska that it was.
Well, it turns out when you've got a big play group, you're allowed to have 2 PTCs. So, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's get some players in here.
So we're gonna talk. Okay, so we're doing Rockford first. Okay, so Rockford PTC was the last PTC that was played. Want to give a big shout out to our good buddy Slam.
Yeah.
He got his PTC win, and we're really excited about it.
That's awesome.
I also want to give a slop to the entire UFS community and Jeremy Ray because they think a 59 attack deck is cool. Because I brought a 59 attack mature deck to Michigan like 3 years ago.
Did you really?
Yes, and I cheesed Nick Mekchin at Birch's house. I beat him 1 game, and then he figured out that I was a 60 attack deck, and then I never won any more games the whole rest of the weekend. I didn't play it in a tournament. Because remember we built it. It was off
playing
of
games at Birch's house. Like I
yes.
distinctly remember that. Like, but that was it's been so long now.
Yeah,
now
that
I
was
kind
like
of want to go back and relive that experience.
But actually, I don't know how I feel about the deck. Some people think it was awesome. We'll talk about that a little bit more later or we can talk about it now. Let's hear what Keenan has to say about that deck because I don't want UFS to be 59 attacks.
I don't know if it's healthy for the game to have 59 attack deck. It sort of runs the same idea as Napalm Man, where it's like you're sort of pigeonholed into having to play this very strategic game plan against it. And if you can main deck Templar, you're fine, which is why Dimitri won this game with this tournament in the first place. I guarantee you it's because this man main decks 4 Templar, and he only main decks 4 because all of a sudden he needed to block mid really bad. So like we're looking at like it's play Templar or let this deck win a bunch of tournaments, and I don't see why that should happen. I do think that as sets cycle out, it'll become less viable because losing Flash Lightning is going to be really big. Is going to make Breaker way better against this deck. But like on paper, it's super solid. Plus the sideboard is perfect for like, oh, you tried to Hanya me. Well, I've got 4 out of your league. Oh, you played like fancy defensive like action card or foundation. Well, I've got spiders and dragon. Like this deck is it's ridiculously good on paper already. And then the fact that you can get the fact that it was able to get second, I'm not sure if that speaks to the player base just not being very good at this game, or
Damn.
the deck itself just being ridiculous. Because I mean, you got to look at some of the people who are below this man with this 59 attack deck. You've got Kevin Broberg playing the Atlanta Special, Atlanta Fire, Dave Wagner himself.
Just 1 second, Keenan, while we're
Yeah,
talking
man.
about decks and
Mhm.
people not being very good at this game. Let's take a look at Slam's deck and what did Slam do to actually get the job done and win a tournament that you couldn't do
You're right.
in
You're
your
right.
event.
And I
So,
didn't do it all. You're
so let's get that deck analysis.
So what I'll say is he's running an incredible attack base, because it's every single card that I ran in my attack base, to the number, in fact. So Slam, you're welcome. Death Valley Faceplate was not run in my deck. I ran Death Valley Faceplant because it's unblockable in Dimitri. But everything else was actually run exactly to the numbers that I played. This man ran one more Templar. I guarantee it's because he was testing Jeremy Ray's deck in Michigan and was like, I have to block high or I lose. And I put in a copy of the high block Dimitri action instead because I needed to block Tengu Dive. Beyond that, the deck runs down pretty similarly. He ran 2 Patriot stance. I only ran 1 because the meta was super explosive when I played. I'm sure it's still pretty explosive, but like having multiple copies of it just ended up slowing me down. Seeking information, he isn't running any copies of Hidden Laughter, so that's kind of where seeking information comes in. We both did 2 dust. We both did 2 spiders. He ran Mathematician Mainboard, which is a card that I totally looked over, but he was not running. There's something he wasn't running that I was. But I mean, he's got everything. He's got the core of the deck. He's got 4 Surveyor, which is important in Dimitri because you have to kill them eventually. You put in a clock by playing it. 4 Portal Barrier, 4 Athena's Knight, 4 Caught Red-Handed. Like all the important cards are there. So at the end of the day, he's just a better player than I am, and I suck at this game.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's it.
Other
Slam is just better than I am. It's okay.
Other interesting decks that I would say that I hadn't seen before. Nate Lucas, which I think I've met Nate once. He was playing Life Tengu Man. So I'd like to hear your input, Keenan, on Life Tengu Man, on Tim, who always plays some really interesting stuff. I like Tim.
Favorite players in UFS right now.
He played a Chaos Yamato Man, and then Brian Harris played a Chaos Kyo, and
Brian Harris, yo, it's a Kyo. We're looking at Rockford still.
Yeah.
So kind of throwing in a little bit of input on this Tengu Man. So kind of the hype thing that I see that I wouldn't normally think about, but like I think it works really well in this deck is Zap, because I think Zap is just sort of in there as like it's turn 2. I just want to hit you really, really, really hard. So here's a stun 1, 9 speed, 8 damage that you're just not blocking. Like you need a 10 pretty much to block this with any good block, and then after that it's just unblockable. So like Zap is sort of that, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to grab some momentum, I'm going to go ahead and get my Shiranui or my Ring Boomerangs online, and then you just throw attacks at people until they die. Like I love it. I love it. He's got the Merciless Master in there, which is really great with Tengu Dive and Ring Boomerang. They both trigger Merciless Master. He's got the Bird of Prey for the extra card draws, and beyond that, it runs actually pretty similar to Birch's deck. You're looking at basically a deck that is Tengu, Chiranui, and pass Checky and win gamey. So like it's perfect. It's a pile of draw power, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Moving on to this Yamato Man deck,
Which is probably my favorite deck of the tournament.
I agree. I've been trying to find a way to make Chaos good because I really like the combination of Dodge and Team K-Dash. And especially as a 7-hand sizer in this meta, you have to get really creative when it comes to having the round of negation. Not to mention he's got Skull Barrier in here. So this man is playing every single possible defensive piece for 7-hand size just to try to not lose so that he can turn around and Yamato Spear you in the face. And that is entirely respectable. I love that game plan.
That's a strategy you would really enjoy.
That's a strategy I would really enjoy as somebody who likes to play 7-hand size. And you look at this, like you've got the Hunt for Spiders and Dragons. You have so you've got that plus Ever Hopeful, which are both like great take out your foundation pieces. I see 2 of A Lesson in Magic in here.
Mm-hmm.
That card doesn't have Chaos to my remembrance. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it does. It's Chaos, Earth, Earth and Life. It has the Snake Man symbols.
I thought it had evil for some reason.
Oh no, Evil doesn't get any good cards.
Oh, that's right. Of course, I forgot about that. So yeah, I guess Lesson in Magic gets to be in here. So I mean, he gets to recheck his bad block, which is the most important. Is more important for seven-handers than it is for six-handers, because if you fail a block as a seven-hander, you pretty much die. So Lesson in Magic is super clutch in this deck. And beyond that, like he's got a couple of great one-ofs in here. Jing Shi, which is a great one-of. Destined Warrior, which is excellent for playing Skull Barrier because you just get to cheat in a Skull Barrier while you've got two momentum and just be like, all right, you're just going to have to deal with this discarding your best attack out of your hand,
Yeah,
basically.
that becomes Destined Warrior when you have a Skull Barrier and 2 momentum. That's
It's
that's like the best foundation in the game right there. In
yeah,
that
like
situation.
if you've got two momentum and a Skull Barrier in your discard pile, that is the best foundation in the game that you could ask for. And so like this deck is just a pile of hype. It's a seven-hand size character doing well at a tournament, and I cannot see this deck ever beating Jeremy Ray's mature deck because there is not enough defense on the planet to deal with that.
That was
Which
what
is
he lost to too. I think if
is
he's
it really? Yeah.
seventh place. No, if he's
No,
seventh place,
he would have lost
he would have lost to the
to
third place
to
deck.
Dave. Yeah, so he lost to Broberg,
Okay,
which makes sense.
so he lost.
Broberg's deck is a lot more proactive. And like even with all this defense, Broberg needs to build one more turn, and he's pretty much got Tim on lock. Like Tim has to get the nicest, fastest flying Yamato spear out there you've ever seen. So I can see how that would have worked out in Broberg's favor. But
Sure.
even then, like you're looking at a nice pile of good seven-hand size play, and I can only appreciate that from like just the greatest of distances. Thank you, Tim, for
And while
playing
we're
something.
talking about Chaos, let's talk about Brian's Chaos Keo deck, which
Okay,
I haven't really looked at it that much.
so
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 it's 4X Skull
it's
Barrier, which I'm
4x
sure
Skull
is
Barrier.
fun.
That's pretty much what I'm seeing is like the defining factor of this deck. Like this deck can play defense if nothing else with that 4x Skull Barrier, and that Kyo's got 28 health, so he's already got this great ass to sit on. He's got plenty of ways to fuel Skull Barrier, and then at the end of the day, what he's trying to do is he's trying to like use his Spiders and Dragons and his Ever Hopeful. I'm sure he plays Ever Hopeful. Yeah, he's got 3 of to flip and remove all of the copies of Dust in the Wind in your staging area, and then just drop an Oniyaki on your head for like 90 million damage and 80 billion speed. Like it's yeah, I've seen this strategy before, and it actually works really well, and you get some great tools with Assassination Attempt, and especially like even Felicity House is really strong because it like saving you that one momentum that it takes to get your Ever Hopeful down again could be really big when it's like I only need 2 damage to kill them. Man, if I only had that one extra momentum for the Oniyaki powerful, I'd be good to go. So I like it. And he played a 1x the Rising Storm, which is actually really cool because this is a card that not a whole lot of people have ever played. It is a Goro card
Yeah,
that's
it's
a 4/5. It says this attack gets minus X difficulty, where X is it's somewhere if you're a seven-hander it's 4 diff, if you're a six-hander it's 3, if you're a five-hander it's 2 diff, and it essentially lets you R and block from your momentum. And so what Keo's doing is as long as Brian Harris's brain is online, which it is always online if you've ever played this man in tournament, he is just tapping a foundation, getting that momentum in there, and then tracking that so that when it's time to block high, he's going to block with Spine Sweep. If it's time to block low, he'll block with Oniyaki, and if it's time to block mid, he's going to block either Breaker One
Skull
Yambarai or
Barrier.
Skull Barrier for free. So like at the end of the day, he's got plenty of stuff, and the best part is that man blocks with Skull Barrier with no momentum, checks an attack on the block for Skull Barrier, puts that in his momentum, reversals with Skull Barrier, checks an attack on the reversal, gets another momentum, Skull Barrier is all of a sudden online. Like it's got some really fun tricks that you can do with it if you can
Sure.
if you happen to have those attacks on top of your deck, or if you just check the right attacks at the same time. Like this man will fail blocks like a motherfucker just to get that Skull Barrier momentum online because he happened to check the attack and has got key ready. So
Right.
I like this deck a lot.
Well, and we were going to talk about the Nebraska PTC, but I remembered that it was before the bans, and there was a bunch of controversy with it.
Oh yeah, like 8 people got diversified.
Yeah,
and then
so we'll go into our main topic, and everyone wants to see Keenan get mad on stream. So we're going to talk about hashtag mega make evil great again, and I'd like to have a good amount of time for this, at least maybe 20 minutes, because Keenan has gotten himself he has a glossary of cards. He's built a case. He's like a lawyer, and he's built a case, and he's suing Jasco Games for neglect of the evil symbol.
The evil symbol has been dearly neglected, and it is a time to change this. We are going to have the best cards for evil. I think that evil, we're going to build a wall around all the other symbols so that they cannot succeed, and evil will rise forth from the ground and create this really ridiculous, awesome synergy because it's a symbol with so much potential. It has seen so much play in the past, and the problem that I think that is going on with it right now is that it's clearly just unidentified by the game designers as what does this symbol do, like
Sure.
what has evil ever done. And so what I wanted to do, and if Childress will indulge me, I did send him this file, and it's a UFS Ultra file of about 25 cards. We're not going to go over all of them because I understand that's ridiculous, but I've got a bunch of examples of sort of how I came to this conclusion. I did this at work today because I was incredibly like I was like in between calls I was like, all right, this is just pissing me off. This new Alice came out. They released this new card that's like commit 4 check for no reason. This attack speed is now 3, which is like the most mediocre speed reduction I've ever seen in my entire life. Unless your opponent's deck is totally keyed around it, so it basically fills the same slot as Dust in the Wind, which is just a better card with a 5 check and a 3 high block. And so I'm looking at this like, all right, how does Jason make some better cards? How does that happen? And so what I did was I went through the history of UFS and I figured out evil's identity as a symbol. So Childress, if you'll indulge me, we'll go ahead and
He has it up.
we're gonna take a history lesson of evil throughout UFS. Now, the first card in the history lesson is easily let's think back to the beginning of UFS. Matt Coles is ready to win his world champion card, and who does he do it with but Tira? Now, Tira Tira has this interesting ability that I think we could see in UFS again in a different, more balanced light. And that is this ability that's like R ready. After a block is played, change the block zone to any other zone. Now, one of the common themes you're going to see throughout this list is blocking. Evil deals with blocks more than any other symbol in the game. You think back to Harnessing Chaos, you think back to Blood Runs True, making you fail your checks, you think back to, Dirty Pool for unblockable. Like, blocking is
Law of the
kind
land
of
to help you block.
law of the land to help you block. Like, evil is all about I want to utilize the blocks that I have in my hand more efficiently than any other symbol. And the interesting part about this is this new character that they spoiled, Alice, is actually the most evil based character out of all of the ones that they printed in this new set, because she is literally a block engine where she says, if you block this way, I'm going to punish you for it. The problem with her is that she's bad because you can just not block her attacks and she doesn't work. So essentially they've got sort of the right idea going with it, but we need to see a little bit more power level. And so I kind of wanted to go over some of the ways to do that based on some of the cards we've seen in the past. So for instance, with Tira, what is wrong with, because evil suddenly has this mid attacks theme, what is wrong with like a character that says R commit, after your opponent blocks your mid attack, change your mid attack zone to any other zone, or change or before, like after your opponent declares a block, you can change the zone of your attack, or change the zone of their block if it was a mid block, so that it only blocks one off and you don't have to worry about like character symbols. Like, this is a perfectly fine evil ability that it's basically essentially just turning an attack into a throw, which Raiden already does, a bunch of other characters already do. You could put
Sure.
this as like a commit ability and it would still be fine and playable. And this is just something that I would like to see in the game, because again, Evil's block modification is some of the best you've ever seen. I brought up Matt Cole. I brought in Matt Coles because this is a man who wanted evil on his character, and all he told Sabretooth Games when his character was designed is, I want some defensive abilities. And what did they give him? Discard a non-block card. Add a block card from your discard pile to your hand. Like, again, it's evil. Sabretooth had this idea. It's like, we're going to keep with this blocking theme. We moved down to Blood Runs True. And this card was, a lot of people saw this as like a really good way to axe your opponent's attacks, but like, this was really a great offensive piece when combined with absurd strength. And you're just like, I'm going to throw this chain throw at you for like 90 billion damage and then just respond 3 blood run screws on your block and make you fail it. What is wrong with a card that says R commit before your opponent plays a block, but check the block, it's -2? It's basically the same as saying +2 speed before the block. And maybe it's got remove or discard or whatever, but like there is something there that you could have that's like an evil staple. All it needs is a 5 check, and all of a sudden, or a high block, and all of a sudden you've got a card that gives you stats in evil, which is not happening right now. And I don't understand why it is so difficult for them to print a card that I want to play in my deck. Because right now, evil staples is like Ophidiophobia and Revoke. And after that, you just hope that you build whatever. Like Powerful Assassin and Hekeshu obviously go in there.
Ophidiophobia, also another a Jasko made evil
A
card that
Jasko made
revolves around blocking.
evil blocking card, exactly. So like what we're looking at right here is the symbol that is literally like the weird shield that does random ass shit. Like you can even look over to the right hand side on the attack lineup and sort of see the evolution of Harnessing Chaos with Gauntlet Bust, where initially we're doing some offensive anti-blocking, and then you bring it into Harnessing Chaos where it does that. Now honestly, I don't think that Harnessing Chaos, given our current meta, is that broken. And in fact, if you wanted to make a new version that was a little bit less bad, one of the new things that they've brought in with the Jasko era is face down cards in card pools. So what's wrong with like a Harnessing Chaos that turns itself face down to negate the ability? So you still have that card in the card pool, but now you've got this Gutsman, Jiro Man, and Ash support that can do random ass manipulation shit with that thing. Or even more crazy, because I think that they can get way more creative with their costs. Like you can combine Blood Runs True and Harnessing Chaos where you discard their block out, but then they get to draw a card, and then you can Dream Thief their card that they're going to draw to see what it's going to be and shit. Like there are so many great potential ways that you can make these mechanics that were really, really broken back in the day. Like don't get me wrong, I'm not going to stand up for evil being the best symbol for like 8 sets in a row as being like we need to print all of this stuff. Like they were entirely broken, but there are ways for you to print these again and make them a lot more playable and make evil a better symbol because of it. We move down to Ballistic Snap Kick, of course. Block on Burn and Breaker. Breaker being another big evil mechanic, and down again to Curse of Corruption, which has, Breaker 3. I'm sorry, I'm going too quick. Regardless, I mean, they were both banned for being too good. I believe Curse was banned. Is that correct, or did they just cycle all those attacks out at the same time? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Because people were making like Phil Birch decks based off of this because you could just keep milling yourself with Birch and then eventually get there. But regardless, like and like Dash Uppercut is basically Ballistic Snap Kick, which I'm not saying we need more block to like you block and burn your opponent, but like I mean I don't think Dash Uppercut is that bad. Burning for 2 on a block like is on a 2-check attack, like that could be playable, sure, whatever. Yeah, is that right? It would be burn. It used to be that. Yes, it used to be that. And I'm not saying Sabretooth had great game design. I'm just saying what people did. And Jasko Games need some help. But regardless, like so those are the main, like I think that blocking is the main thing that they're just missing right now, because blocking and then check hacks, which can be applied to blocking to make check hacks more balanced. One, because the reason that like if you scroll down and check out Unbridled Rage, the reason that this card doesn't exist in standard anymore is because it's broken in this standard. In this standard, this card, you get 2 copies of this card, and your opponent's turn is over, and all those Tengu dives that they tried to play just don't work anymore. And it's the saddest thing, because you ruin little Johnny's dreams of becoming this ridiculous wombo combo monster. And it's like, okay, I get it. I understand why Jasko isn't.
Two Unbridled Rages in play would almost be like having Clark and Hanya in play at the same time.
Exactly.
That would be pretty hard to attack into.
It is hard to attack into, but then you have to play Clark, and then you're playing a 5-hand size character, and then it's a little easier to attack into it. But imagine playing a 7-hand size character with Unbridled Rage, or even worse, a 6.
So can I ask you a question, Keenan?
Yeah, man.
An evil card, and you were talking about the evil theme and everything like that. In my opinion, the evil card that won you your singles championship, you might argue it was Harness Chaos. I would argue that it was Law of the Land.
I would too. I would say.
And we're seeing a Jasko era of maybe some power level erratas now. with Dimitri and Active Treason and Spiders and Dragons, and well, Napalm Man is gone, but Napalm Man has support where if something's committed, you can destroy it and stun in the game.
Yeah.
Could Law of the Land be made unique and be a really good piece and a fair card in the meta right now?
As a unique, absolutely. There's so much foundation control in this game. I'll have pretty much any symbol you can think of that's remotely good. Like even Earth has Game Night. That turns off Law of Land in a second.
Sure.
So yeah,
Well, Earth also has Active Treason.
Earth also has Active Treason. That's true. Yeah. So I mean, regardless, like I, I think so. I think that Law of the Land as a unique card could be totally fine, and I would honestly love to see it that way.
Sure.
Because like Evil's being given all of these mid blocks anyways, and they're all +4s because they want to make Natali too good for some reason.
Natali won.
Natali won. Yeah, you're right. So the problem with the problem with Jasko's current incarnation of Evil is just the fact that they're giving them all these gimmicks that are just really bad, and they're trying to say, oh well, this is just Evil's thing now, and it's like, great, it's Evil's thing, but why don't you make it better? With anything, like they can print any number of stats on an attack, and yet we're still getting like Schecter support that's just like all these attacks are mid and they're kind of okay, but they could be a little bit better, but nah, whatever. And then they're turning around and like, here's Tengu Dive and Scorch Wheel, have fun, life symbol. It's like I don't understand how that comes together. Like Scorch Wheel says attack cards don't count towards progressive difficulty. Steel Resurrection, this new Alice attack that just came out, says weapons, meaning that in order to make Steel Resurrection good in Evil, you have to find evil weapon cards first, and then it's almost as good as Scorch Wheel, even though it doesn't draw you 38 cards. Like, exactly, and like, it doesn't draw you. I'll translate for the stream. It doesn't draw you your next Scorch Wheel, which draws you your next Scorch Wheel.
Which was from Matt Childress.
Right, which is from Matt Childress. So like, this is it's so sad seeing these like they're over gimmicking Evil. They gave it ally attacks last set. Before that, they did mid attacks with Schecter, and they did mid attacks with Mature, and then they did Vice, which did like random momentum step that was never very good in general. Her attack was absolute garbage. They did Iori, who was a really good character, but only with his support. They did other Iori, which is a really good character with all of Natali's support. They did Natali, who was the only good Evil character for the last 8 sets. Like there's so many mechanics, and none of them came together ever, and all they have to do is focus on blocking, and I can have a staple card that I will play in every Evil deck. I'll play that in mid attack Schecter. I'll play that in ally attacks Wily. I will play that in anything, because as long as I can put stats on a card or not die, I'm fine, and that is all I've ever wanted from the Evil symbol.
Question for you, Keenan,
yes,
if you don't mind me interrupting.
Absolutely.
Is this a design issue with Evil as a symbol, or is this a design issue where it seems like Jasko Games, with the Endines release, the Red Horizon upcoming release, and the Mega Man Battle for Power release, that they're going less away from staple cards like Know Your Objective, Ophidiophobia, if we're talking about Evil, into just more character gimmicks. They want people to play more of a character than people playing 25 staple foundations,
right,
attack base, a little bit of stuff in a champion card, which is sort of what the game has seen in the past.
I think that's sort of what they're going for with Evil, but the problem is they're only doing it on Evil. Like, I can name like 30 staple cards for other symbols, and maybe it's just because they decided to start doing this now, and Evil didn't have any good cards before, so they're not getting any good cards now, and now we're going to these gimmicks. But like, again, yeah, Revoke, definitely. Staple level, like you got Revoked, you got Ophidiophobia, and then your staple level Evil cards kind of die off. But like, you move to Fire.
Keenan, when Childress said something, you got to say it back to the stream that he said it.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. I apologize. So yeah, Childress said that Revoke was the main staple Evil card, and then after that, it sort of falls off. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it is.
Yeah, and Childress is saying that Revoke is Evil staple card. It's sort of the Templar for Evil and Void.
Yeah.
And it and they recognize that, and they're bringing that forward.
Yep.
Um,
So,
Go
so
ahead.
in response to that, I would say there is a movement where they're trying to bring a lot of the cards into more character specific or oriented sets, but I would argue that Evil's getting hit with that a lot harder than other sets are because they're already starting out with so few good card staples.
That's a good point. That's a good
for
point.
for instance, like you look at the last set and you're sort of like looking around and you see like, okay, so Swordman kind of gimmicks on weapons but then you see Nightman come right beside that and you're like, oh, okay, so Order's developing a weapon gimmick where they're not character specific necessarily, they can utilize the characters between
Sure.
symbols. And then you see Wily, who is the only ally character, and we're looking at the next set with Evil, and there's one ally foundation coming out and no ally attacks that I've seen so
I
far.
think I think the ally attacks are in Miska, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. And she does not have
Right. She
evil on
does
her.
not have evil.
Right, exactly. So I mean, like,
She does not. She
she does
does
not
not.
share any symbols with Wily, is what Matt just pointed out. Yes. Right. So as Matt just said, it's one thing to design cards for a character in like a kit scenario where you're trying to make their abilities better, but it's another thing to design a character that's like going to flesh the symbol itself out and make a character that's a little more generic, such as a champion character, be a little more viable. And I agree with that there's a distinction there, and that characters that come out in sets should have their own mechanics and should be able to like live and breathe by that. But if you're gonna do that, give that shit to All and Life and Air that already have 90,000 frickin' cards that just do everything. And so now they can have a character with the ally symbol and give Evil something like R, remove lose 3 vitality before your opponent blocks their check gets -3. Like whatever. I don't give a crap. I just want to see something that's a little bit more playable versus something that's a lot playable in a character that isn't very good. Like it never
Sure.
adds up. And so we see this new set and we've got Alice who's actually doing this great blocking gimmick thing, except for the fact that if you don't block, her character does nothing
Well,
except
let
for
me
make an
ask you
attack
this,
into a
Keenan. Let me
weapon.
ask you. Let me ask you this, Keenan.
Hmm.
Now, you say if you don't block, her character doesn't do anything,
Hmm.
but you just talked about in Evil how blocking is so good. You've had a lot of your success through blocking, and I
Absolutely.
know you kind of compare to Goro, but I think it's hard to compare than that because this character has all in Evil, which has more draw power than Goro symbols. And he's a 5 hand size.
All does.
If your opponent just doesn't block your attacks, aren't
Yeah.
they just going to lose to Alice?
I mean, they would lose to Alice, but for I don't think that like I guess if she Yamato spears people off of all, and to be fair, what I was attacking this from was more of an evil perspective, regardless, because I'm
Sure.
incredibly
But
biased in that sense.
let's say she plays. Let's say she's playing the gyro slam, which
Okay.
draws you a card off of
Yep.
evil. Let's
Hmm.
say she's maybe playing uh, an evil multiple attack
Okay.
that you can use the ash flip and put the face down back in your hand.
Okay.
I mean, so let's say you're playing some ways to gain a little bit of card
Yeah.
advantage. Of course, evil lacks that with than other symbols, which is what we were talking about. But
Right.
I mean, isn't isn't this a character that can be good? I feel like the argument for her being bad that you're giving is not very good right now, and I'd
Uh,
like you to kind of make a stronger argument.
Absolutely. Go. Children has something to say, so we're gonna go ahead and translate that for you. Okay, so that's a very good point. Childress said that you have to play attacks that your opponent wants to block. Evil doesn't have a lot of great attacks right now in general. The new set is going to bring out some new ones. We've seen Steel Resurrection, we've seen the new Natalia attack, we've seen a couple of Balecore support. We're going to see more as it goes on. But in general, a lot of Evil's attacks lack. I mean, they might lack damage, they might lack speed, but they're going to lack something that's more relevant that they could have. And they all lack abilities that say like if this attack deals deals damage do something ridiculous, except for Demon Billion, which is sort of okay in a control matchup. But a lot of these cards that are blanking cards right now, and you've actually said this before, and I'm actually going to rip this directly from your mouth, Pegler. Like, these cards that are dealing with foundation control might not be very good right now because there are
Sure.
decks that don't play any foundations or very few
Right.
foundations
Or don't
control
care
foundations
about their
do.
foundations.
Exactly.
They care about their attacks. They want to be
Exactly.
aggressive.
So you need to find diamonds essentially for this
I
character
don't.
to get his
I think you underestimate the evil attack base, though. I think in Alice you can. I mean, yes, it's expensive, but you can lead with a Flying Fortress Buster,
Okay.
and then use a Death Blow, and then like Daniel's here saying you can use Death Blow. You have Dragon Flare, which is very high cost, and I
Oh
don't know how
God,
I
no.
feel about that.
No.
But I think something. I think something like I think leading. I think if you wanted to play her off of evil, I think leading with a Flying Fortress Buster, where your opponent, if you call it right, there is a card in evil, a Maxima card
Right.
called
Yeah.
Instant Analysis, where you can look at your opponent's hand. So you can, there is a setup game with Alice, which is her gimmick. You can set up and where your opponent will either destroy a ready foundation if they take the damage, or they will block, lose 2 vitality, and you will gain card advantage.
So what I would say to that specifically, Alice's biggest issue is the fact that her character says attack or card type. Because as a player playing on the defensive, I would do 2 things. The first thing I would do is determine what attack I need to block. And typically that's 1 attack a turn if I'm playing a 6 hand size character, 2 attacks if I'm playing a 7. And as a 7 hand size character, you just kind of eat crow and hope that you kill them the next turn if you don't die. But as a 6 hand size character, all I would need to do in that scenario is say, all right, this bitch plays Flying Fortress Buster, and I don't want to take 7 damage and discard a card. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold an attack with a high block, and I'm going to hold a foundation with a high block. She's going to call one of the 2. And then I'm just going to go ahead and block it and go on my life. And that character all of a sudden has to pass a 6 on whatever turn it is. And if it's turn 4, she's probably dead. Um, and she's had to pass this 6 check, and now she's sitting there with like, what is the evil follow-up attack to that? And I don't know. Like, Flying Fortress Buster for her is about as good as it gets right now, and that doesn't do anything. And it's also not a weapon card. So if she wants to
Sure.
play Steel Resurrection, she has to go ahead and blow her ability on that, and then she has to find a bunch of other playable weapon cards, which is pretty much just going to be her support. So I see that as for like as good as the ability is, it's all I need to do is hold 2 different card types with the same block zone after I've identified the card that I want to block. And all of a sudden
Sure.
that character goes from really like okay mid-tier to this doesn't do anything. My name is Goro with 27 health. Please don't kill me with Hengu dives. I don't want to die this way.
That's fair, and I will agree with you in this aspect in saying that I think Alice. I guess maybe it's more of an all thing.
Yeah.
I think the weapon gimmick she has, maybe they're just doing it more for all, but I think she gets kind of lost. Like, I don't like that Alice's main symbols are death and evil, and I know death has some weapon cards now, but that she's the main focused. She's the main focused like weapon character that we've seen right now.
Yeah.
Malian had order in all, which has always been more, weapony. I think
Right.
that would have been used a bit better. But I definitely understand where you see where you say the design is flawed, where you have weapons or you have allies on Dr. Wily, and then you have mids on Schecter, and now you have weapons on Alice. So
Like,
how can you really put together a strong attack? How can you put together your range shield ram attack base like fire? How can you
right.
put together your curse splat and scorch wheel all
Yeah.
life decks? How can you put your rain flush and slaughterhouse?
And like,
Where is that and homing missiles, napalm bomb,
right,
and those
exactly.
symbols?
That was what I was
where,
gonna say.
where
Like,
where do you get that? Where are those attacks in evil? Where are
like
those attacks that
there
you
are those
want
attacks.
to
Homing
put
missiles and
in every
napalm
evil deck?
bomb. Homing missiles and napalm bomb go in every deck that can play them for good reason. They're insane. It's nothing but bad decisions for your opponent. It's a pile of damage. Like, homing missiles doing 7 almost guaranteed, because your opponent doesn't want to like waste a block on a 4 damage attack, but they also don't want to blow up a foundation. So like if you're like playing defensively against it, you're just going to take 7 to the face, which isn't really playing defensively. But like, what if they lead up with a better mid attack? Like, it's so good. And then Napalm Bomb by itself being you're going to just lose 2 because you don't want to discard a card out of your hand. Like, these cards are staple attacks. Evil does not have a staple attack. Like, one of Evil's best attacks, like Evil's best staple attack right now is probably the slam from Gyroman.
Gyro. Yeah, Gyro.
Yeah, Euroman support, whatever. And regardless, like after that, it goes kind of downhill, and even that card isn't cohesive with the rest of the attack base. Like, Evil doesn't have, I'm gonna draw 36 cards and give this a pile of damage. That's not what it does. And so unless you're playing Gyroman, all you're doing is drawing a card and getting 1 damage, which is basically making it a Yambarai that doesn't have Breaker. And like and sure, you don't have to have momentum for it or whatever, but like even then the block mod is worse, and like it's got enough trade-offs to where it's like this just isn't doing it for me as somebody who wants to play the evil symbol. Like, I'll play Aaron Life till the day that like those cards go out of style, but I would much rather be playing a symbol that I like to play. And I think that there are very specific ways that you can make good cards for this symbol that don't necessarily have to be, this is just one character's wheelhouse, here's another character's gimmick wheelhouse, and then just keep on going down the line until you're sit with it like an attack base. Doesn't make any sense.
Also, Childress, if you want to type what you're saying in the chat too, that would be
Yes.
good. Okay, good.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's the cool part. Like, evil
Say
cohesive
say
now.
what he said, Keenan. Say
So
what he said.
essentially, Childress was saying basically beyond because again, like as we were all saying as a collective, it's okay to have these character gimmicks. And Childress was saying beyond the character gimmicks, you need a solid foundation of cards that essentially says like, and they can be hack related and they can be blocking related, but like they have to be evil related and powerful enough to see play in multiple decks. And right now that's just sort of, and what I'm saying is basically that's not cutting it. And so that's kind of what Childress.
Now,
by
one
paraphrase.
thing, and I'm looking at your old cards here, Keenan.
Yeah.
One card I see is an old Cervantes card that saw a lot of play, especially in Kazuya, and it's chasing after the power. And we see something similar to that. We see some things similar to that, like the new card, No Airbags, which
No airbags.
which is
doesn't have
which
evil on it at all.
yeah, and Beginner's Luck was an evil card,
It
and I know
was.
that, and I know like the check boosting game is sort of like a chaos gimmick, but
Right.
it seems evil. Its best attacks are higher difficulty.
Definitely.
If evil got a card like Chasing the Power or something,
Yeah.
would that help it develop? Would that foundation help it develop an attack base?
Absolutely.
Or not?
Absolutely, because again, when like especially when you're looking at like the good attacks off evil, like the first thing you see almost immediately is Flying Fortress Buster. 0 high block is incredibly clutch in this meta because Tengu Dive is a real thing that happens to people. People actually get Tengu Dive in this meta, believe it or not. And so when you have the ability to play that card by dropping it in your card pool, checking a 5 off the top, and then committing Chasing After the Power, all of a sudden your attack base opens way up because I can just blow that up and play another one and not have to tap anything and go on with my life and actually be able to play 4 copies of this 6 difficulty card. Like,
Sure.
check boost, and if we go back to the screens we've got, check boost is a common theme in evil. It is not just a chaos thing. Evil and chaos have had it pretty similarly the whole time. And right now the
Sure.
only check boost card we got going for us is Golden Ticket, which is a direct ripoff of Float Like a Butterfly, which is on the list. Beyond that, I would, yeah, go ahead and put that up on the big board. Commit your control checks, get +1. It's almost identical. There's a couple different things like this is unique. 3/5 even. It's totally fine, no block. I wouldn't put it in standard right now because I don't want to wish that juju on anybody. But like something more along these lines, and then I would move you over to Buffalo Headbutt in the attack section. If this attack deals damage, your checks for the rest of the turn get +1.
What a card for Alice.
What a card for Alice right there. I know. If they made it
Legacy,
a weapon,
boys, Legacy.
if they made it a weapon, like
she can make it a weapon. Get
she
your Legacy
can
decks
make it
out.
a weapon. we're in business now. Like, this is the sort of stuff that I miss kind of seeing out of Evil. Like, take Buffalo Headbutt just as an attack. You've got a 5 diff, 3 check, 4 mid for 5, 3 high block, or 3 mid block that says if this attack deals damage. This card is fine for standard. I could see this being played in standard UFS just okayly. Like, I would probably just block it and not have to worry about it. But like, maybe it deals damage and you get +1 to your checks. Who cares? Like, it's not Tengu Dive. And like, as a 3 check, that actually fits perfectly into the standard metric. They could take that card, put charge on it, reprint it in Balecore support, and make it insanely good.
Yeah.
And
Essentially, you're talking about Tengu Dive. Tengu Dive clears itself from the card pool, so it is essentially giving your checks +1 already.
yeah, it like the things about UFS is that there's 90 million ways to say the exact same thing. Speed pump and check hacks on block are the same thing. So is modifying your block modifier in terms of increasing it or decreasing it. Amy did that back in the day with with Ostenburg Castle.
Sort of a good symbol gimmick, I would say.
A good symbol gimmick. But at the end of the day, it's the same sort of thing. The problem is like, in order for Jasco to print a card that they feel like has this ability, they have to find the right flavor for it. And I agree with that, because it does help flesh out the symbol for these players like me who've been playing, us entirely, that have been playing forever, and we've seen the different iterations. So I want to see Evil Speed Pump named check hacks, but it's still the same thing. It's making your opponent's check, it's making your opponent commit more foundations to block it or not blocking it. And so in that way, like, I think they just need to get more creative in the way that they're printing cards.
Sure.
Like, because there are all these great examples.
Keenan, it seems like you've made a good argument. It's been about 30 minutes. You know, I wanted to let you go on your tangent.
That's fine.
But I'll let you say, I want you to have your last word. What do you want Jasco Games and the UFS community to hear about your Make Evil Great Again argument? And then we'll go on and talk a little bit about a couple other topics, and we'll end the show.
Excellent. So what I would love Jasco to do is I would like them to pull up the 25 most iconic Evil cards in their opinion, and I want to see them just balance them out for standard. That's it. You can take any Evil card from back in the day, Law of the Land, like we said, make it unique. Blood Runs True. There's a million ways that Blood Runs True had like 3 different abilities on it. There are a million ways for you to recost that to make it playable. Let your opponent draw the card after the check hacks, but don't draw the card yourself. Blow it up. Make it unique. Who gives a crap? Like, there are ways to make these cards playable in standard where as they look ridiculous in UFS. This is all you need for inspiration to start off of. And there are a million ways. Blocking is one of the core ways that UFS is played. It is my favorite way to play the game. My character was entirely based around blocking. So if you just take like 30 minutes to go back and sort of stare at what was, we're going to see what is for Evil increase in power a lot, and I'm going to be bitching a lot less on your Facebook posts and making you look like a terrible company for being an asshole and printing cards that suck. And that's what I have to say.
Okay. Well, we will now go into our next topic, which this is something that Childress and I would like to do since we're planning to do a monthly show. We would like to talk about the general state of the game. Hopefully, on every show there will be a couple of PTCs before it. So we've had some bans. We've had, the Napalm, the Summer Heat. I'm forgetting the rest of the bands off the top of my head.
Kim
Napalm Man, Summer Heat, Kim, and what was the last one, Keenan? Sorry.
Jiffany got rotated. So
Jiffany Jamper. So, Keenan, in your opinion, is the state of the game good, bad? What cards do you like or not like? And let's just hear your opinion on that.
I still hate air. I will always hate air to death. It's got too many tools. I still hate Templar to death. I love the amount of aggression that the game has right now. I think the mature deck is a little overkill. But beyond the mature deck and air, and then after those two would be dealt with Dimitri, I would love to see what the game is sitting at then, because I think you're looking at a lot of really playable characters that aren't necessarily going to be overpowered, just really good.
Well, there you go.
There you go. I'm going to make it short and sweet. I talked a lot.
Short and sweet. Keenan went on a tangent. So, I would agree. I just want to say again, I'm still continuing I'm still continuing the band Tengu Dive hype train. Um, it's a 4 difficulty card that
I
draws
love
3
dive.
cards. It's
And
yeah,
draw 3 cards.
it's also Piercing Howl. It draws 3 cards, which a majority of the time a card that draws 3 cards, is an 8 difficulty and called Trinity Geyser. It does other things too, yes, but there aren't many cards that draw 3 cards in the game, and I mean, yeah, I just don't feel good about
Not
it.
feeling the guy. Not feeling
So
the dive.
so jump on the bandwagon with me, boys. Just play the hell out of your degenerate Tengu Dive decks
I've got
so
my
it
build
gets
for
banned
worlds already.
banned by example like Keenan Meadows does. I don't really care to play the symbols it has personally, so I won't play it. So I'll just build some deck that can hopefully stop it. But
And then you
you
get that
know,
banned
we'll
anyways.
yeah, we'll
It does. It does until
yes.
worlds comes around and it's
Yes.
rotated.
Orders from Hydern does stop it, and the main deck I'm working on right now is Void, so it has Mathematician, which makes it a lot more difficult to play. But
Yeah.
so that's we'll say that for the state of the game. I'm just really like Scorch Wheel is kind of a cool gimmick card. Yeah, I think it's fine for now. We're gonna see how it goes from there. And I want to say something. I would really like to see um, Metal Man a little bit more. I played against like Keenan tweaked a build of Tim's Metal Man deck from Nationals, and that deck seems like a world beater. That deck
It's
seems
awesome.
really, really powerful.
It's
It
fun as
seems
fuck.
it seems like it has some anti-meta tech, and it has a really, really great attack base.
Oh yeah.
So I would like to see that. I think that is something that really is going to be a strong meta deck in the I think that's going to be a strong meta deck in the future. It's already a strong meta deck, but I mean it's going to be Ryu Felicia level. I think when it finally comes out, and maybe just us talking about it can help it get there. But I think that it is going to be at the S tier level as time goes on. I think that it's
Yeah.
really, really strong, and
It's
I think I think about that. Yes, it has tested its metal, and I think I would argue to say that if you're not looking at a deck, if you're not looking at a K Dash deck that Shane Duckworth and Broberg had a lot to do with it too. But if you're not looking at the Shane Duckworth, if you're not looking at the Shane Duckworth deck, K Dash deck, I think that it is the best deck that has come out of Vegas, in my personal opinion.
it's awesome.
It seems really good.
I've
There's
really
a
had
lot
a
of
blast
good decks
playing
that
it.
come out, but
Yeah.
that deck sometimes it just feels really, really degenerate. So I
Yeah.
just wanted to give a shout out to that deck and a shout out to Tim and the Vegas Play Group that
Vegas play.
put it together. So
Alright.
now we'll go kind of wind down the show. We've gone on. I know everyone enjoyed listening to Keenan's rant according to the chat.
Aw, best day ever.
Right now, right now, for the outro, we'll take any questions from the chat. So if you have a question for me or Keenan or Childress, we can ask Childress and get his answer, or he'll respond to you in chat. We'll take a couple of questions for the next 5 or 10 minutes, and then we'll wrap up the show. So I am reading the chat. Yeah, yeah, but So anyone that has a question, if not, we'll wind down the show. I know we've already gone on about an hour, but yeah, I just want to say again, I agree with Keenan in the state of the game that I think I finally see um I think I finally see where the game is going. I think they're trying to make it more of a spectator game. Um, I think they're trying to make it more of spectator sport, which is good. It relates to fighting games,
Yep, definitely.
and I like that. For control players, which Keenan and I sort of are, control isn't gone. It's just changed.
Right.
Control used to be turn 12. Now control is turn 5 or 6. And when I say that, I mean the game ending. So you control the game until turn 5 or 6, and
Which
then
is
in
still
the game
fine.
which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Which I think most control players don't really have an issue with that. We still get to control the game. I think there are
Yeah.
still some good control pieces out there, and I think that they're making. I think this past Worlds meta was them. They were like, we really want to make the game faster, and it's like, okay, we're gonna make it really really fast, and then now they're just gonna be like, okay, now we're gonna dial back. Now we're gonna maybe make some anti-aggro pieces
Yep.
and things of that nature. And yeah, so I like.
Okay.
Broberg has asked the question. Keenan Meadows, what is the worst deck you've ever played in a tournament? And I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this.
Broberg should already know the answer to this as well, because it was certainly after I decided that so back in I don't even remember what year this was. I built this one deck because Piglet was doing really really well with his Alice deck, and I hated him for it. I was like, I'm sick of you playing the best control deck. I want to play the best control deck. I hate you to death. You're not winning this upcoming PTC. Night before the PTC, I threw this thing together. It was a Void Ava. And the only thing it was built to do was beat Piglet, because it just discarded their hand, howled, and then multiple spinning whatever drivers. So or the Kazi, no, it was the Kazuya multiple off of Void.
Spinning Demons.
Spinning Demon, that's it. So I bring that to the team's event at Worlds that year and get absolutely thrashed all the way through rounds, even though I won a Pro Tour with it. And I'm like, fuck, this deck doesn't do anything. What am I going to do? Lost my mind completely and threw together an Order Hua deck. I took the Hua challenge to try to make Dave shave his head.
His head. We were gonna take off the beautiful hairpiece, folks. But he had to win Worlds with Hua.
So bad, but
you guys should have scooped to Keenan in every round. I'm just saying.
The only matchups I won with that deck were when I sideboarded into Malian and just tried to play the deck with Malian straight out.
Shave Wagner. Hashtag Shave Wagner.
That
yes.
Easily the worst deck I've ever played in tournament, and now, it was earth-shattering.
We'll have this as the last question. This is pretty interesting. What are 3 new franchises you would like to see come into the game? And this being the last, I'll answer this too, but I'm gonna need a second to think about it. So you go.
Okay.
You go first.
All right, I'll deal with this right now. Okay, so my problem is that I don't play fighting games, which is sure blasphemous, but I'm really bad with my hands. So I don't have a whole lot of fighting game fandom. However, if I was going to pick like just fandoms that I liked, which I'm going to go ahead and interpret this question as, I'm a really big fan of Overwatch right now. And I know Blizzard would never ever touch this game with a 10-foot pole. But if they somehow, from the grace of God, just decided to buy it off of Jasco because, mechanics or whatever, and card games are fun, they already have Hearthstone, I think that the Overwatch characters would make a really cool addition to the game itself. That's one. God, now I'm trying to think of just games that I play in general. I mean, for the most part, like, I play a lot of games where you create your own characters. So like, I play a lot of Skyrim and all that. I honestly, after Overwatch, it would get into like really mainstream anime, like Full Metal Alchemist, and I wouldn't wish that upon the world. So they already had a bad card game, so I'm not gonna try to like make that relive or anything. But I'm gonna say Overwatch is a solid option because the character design in Overwatch is some of the best design. I guess Borderlands too. If I had to throw in another one, I'd throw in Borderlands just because I like
All right, Desmu, and I have 3, and we'll see what people like. The first one, of course, which is a lot of people, which is already a card game, but Dragon Ball Z, especially with it being in the miniatures game, and I know everyone loves DBZ. DBZ would be awesome. Unlike Keenan, I'm a big fan of League of Legends, so I would like a League of Legends set. But I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about that game. And the last one would be really interesting. And I mean, this would never happen either, but I would love a Disney set of Universal Fighting System.
Kingdom Hearts set
of I guess one thing that's weird for me, I love mermaids, and I would play the fuck out of Ariel. Okay, I'm just saying, I would love
Mermaid Redhead.
I would love Ariel. I would love Simba. Like, oh my gosh, like so many so many great things because they're already, kind of doing like the Alice in Wonderland kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's
No, well, I guess sort of, but
that's fine. It's the same thing.
no,
It's still Disney, and you add like a couple FF7 characters, which who cares? Oh yeah, he said Kingdom Hearts. Wouldn't that just be a better idea? Okay, so Childress is
okay.
number one to
Childress said
zero,
Naruto.
so he's already a bad person. We'll continue on from there. Dragon Ball Z would be fine for
Easy.
Childress as well. So Childress is having a hard time thinking of a fighting game. One just came to my mind for my third. I would love to see Dive Kick, straight up.
Oh,
'Cause I only want to see 2 moves from every character, and I want them to be exactly the same, but they kill you if they hit.
there's already one dive in this game and it's broken, so I'm not in favor of dive kick.
Devil May Cry was
Devil
Childress's
May
other.
Cry is
That's a
Childress's
good one.
last one.
That is a solid choice. The
So, but
original OG. We're not dealing.
OG Devil May Cry. But lobby for that Disney set, boys. I'm trying to play Ariel, Simba, and Hercules. Okay, so that's the strategy. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Poseidon would be so gross. Man, the Little Mermaid, Ursula, the Little Mermaid has so many great characters. Maybe just a Little Mermaid set. All right,
Yeah,
it should get its own.
I
It should
would
get its
definitely play the
own
crap
set.
out of some like Death Evil Water Ursula, and she'd have like ally attacks, so she'd gel with Dr. Wily, where the fish would hit you, or the eels.
The eels. Oh my
Ally
gosh.
attack.
Poseidon's trident asset. Let's do this.
Uh,
But I really we'll end the show. We've gone on for over an hour, but I hope everyone enjoyed the show. I know everyone respects Keenan and loves to hear him rage and like and
sorry that I
he has a good argument like a
make
lawyer. He
Facebook
built
miserable for people. The only way to get stuff done, as we have learned from this recent election, is to yell about it as much as possible until it becomes a thing. So, in the spirit of being just taken aback by everything that happened last week, I'm gonna yell about stuff, and hopefully things are gonna get done. And I do feel like that I got a chance. I appreciate you guys letting me come on to explain my discourse, because I'm not gonna lie, I've been thinking about this all day today after seeing that new card, after like just like my just seeing flames at why we can't have nice things at all, and like going into this going, man, like evil just isn't shaping up the way I want it to. I really appreciate getting the opportunity to come onto the show and sort of express some of my grief and some of my solutions, because I feel like I can make evil great again. Like, I think that I have the best cards. I think that my cards are the best out of the cards. I think that everyone should know about my cards and my card ideas, and that I, I want evil to win so much that I'm sick of playing evil, because I am not sick of playing evil because I can't win with it, and if I don't win with something, I just keep playing it until I give up, and I have not
yeah.
given up on
Right
evil yet.
right now you've won so much with life you're tired of winning.
I'm really
So
sick of fucking life and air. Please stop printing cards for those symbols. I want to stop both of those things, and just I just send me to hell where me and evil can be together again, because I just want to play evil so much.
So, well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. I apologize for Childress's mic issues. We're going to get that worked out here on the next month. Maybe next month we might do maybe like a Christmas or a New Year's kind of deal, or we're talking about doing it on the 15th. Everything is in discussion right now. But I want to thank everyone for supporting my. I want to thank everyone for really supporting my content and Childress. He has this bogus UFS website that he would like to make relevant. So that
E-commit. You gotta commit on an E. We don't use our
so
commits, we only E-commit.
okay. And Childress said he does update his e-commit Facebook page, and if you guys will like his page on Facebook, and I wish you would have known that sooner. Well, he might have. I think he did post the link on his Facebook page, so you can get that update, and we'll talk, and maybe we'll try to talk about the show and stuff like that. Yeah, and if anyone Yeah, and you can post if you want us to talk about a topic. Keenan really wanted us to talk about evil and making it great again. So yeah, and are all you guys going to play in the online tournament next Saturday? I didn't know that there was one,
Oh.
but I am DTF. So
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Sign me up for that shit. I don't think I've got. I'm trying to think if I have anything. Is it the 19th? Can Chad answer that for me?
uh,
Is that the date?
next I think it's next Saturday, so
Next
it would
Saturday?
be the Saturday after Thanksgiving. I guess that would be. So I
Oh, so that'd
so
be the
yeah,
26th. Okay, yeah, definitely the 26th. The 19th, I
but
might be. If it starts early on the 19th, I'm totally down.
yeah, but really appreciate you guys supporting the content, and also Childress said, um, if you want to tell your friends that didn't get to watch live, he's going to put a VOD on YouTube as well, and on Twitch VOD. So anyone that didn't get a chance to hear the show, will give them a chance to see it. So hope everyone has a wonderful night, and thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Peace out.
Bye.